Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, I wanted to talk about how to blend. Now, some of you are DMing me and asking me, can you consult me on blending and roasting? And like you're in totally different countries. That is not doable, okay? But what I can do is give you a really good, I think, basic understanding of what blending is. Roasting is something else. Blending, I could definitely help you out there. But you're really only going to get workable, sellable results with you in there actually doing the work of making blends. And how do you make blends? Okay, so making blends is really about a couple things. You can Google this, and the gist is there's a couple reasons why you blend. One, to save on the cost of coffee, to offer something consistent throughout the year as the harvest of coffee changes. Not a certain coffee will always be available all year round. So people have in alternates, and they look for certain flavor profiles that they know that they can roast consistently as a roaster and offer to their customer base. So for example, I have a blend called, do I have some in here? I don't, but it's called Shadow Cat, and that's like our espresso blend. It used to be, our espresso blend used to be called Black Mamba, but I changed the recipe, so now it's Shadow Cat. But the main coffees in there are a Vietnam and a Brazil. Okay, the only things I really changed was the ratio and the roast profiling and just roasting it better. But the main thing about this blend was to produce something chocolatey and sweet when you make an espresso. That was my goal with the espresso blend. So with you making blends in India, you would first have to see, like, I guess one, what does your customer want? What do they typically like? I have no idea what the coffee culture is like in India. And then two, you would have to see what you could normally, like what's really easily available to you, you know? With me, I'm okay with things just kind of changing all the time because I don't have an established customer base. For the most part, I know I need to make a sweet, chocolatey espresso blend and offer that on my menu at all times during the year. And so I can look for, I think, pretty easily locally, and if I want to order online or something like that, to get that kind of very basic, simple roast profile or taste profile for espresso. I just have to know how to roast it, okay? So with you, first it's understanding that. And then another reason why you'd want to blend is to create something or innovate something that you couldn't get with single origin. So with single origin coffee, meaning coffee coming from one origin, one country, like say Guatemala, Ethiopia, Mexico, whatever. So blending these three countries possibly could create something really good and tasty. Now this all depends on cost. Is it feasible for you to put in the time and effort to use all three of these coffees all the time to make this blend? So it kind of goes like, what makes sense? Typically how I do it, I like to have 4 types of coffees, single origins here in stock. And then from those flavors, each of them being kind of different from one another, seeing where I can make blends from that. So I always first start off as, what can I offer really good single origins? It doesn't always have to start off like that, but I think that's a good start. Like if I'm offering 4 types of coffees, I think my goal will to have 3 of them be rather special on their own, can stand on their own, and one that I know will be a good workable coffee as a blend. For example, meaning like it doesn't have to be as special, it's probably cheaper, something that you can just kind of fill in the gap, basically, okay? That would be my Brazil, Ipe. And even now that it's getting a little older, it's not even holding its own to kind of work in as blends, because I feel like it's getting to that point where it's going to bring coffees down or blends down, as in it's not going to make it taste good or add value to the blend, because it's just getting to that point where I don't think it's special enough anymore. Unless you roast it enough to where it's like, oh, it's just a freaking dark ass roast. Like there's ways to mask flavor and mask oldness. And that's what I'm definitely doing with the Brazil. So it's more of like I said in other videos, just like this springboard for other coffees to really shine. Instead of it coming into a blend as being something special, this coffee special, now we're making really something special together as a blend, okay? So that's a little thing on blends and how I kind of look at it. Now, how do you make blends? Okay, so say you've got 4 coffees, pretty good coffees now that you would like to offer on their own as single origin coffees. Cool. Now you're like, cool, now I can get innovative, make blends, maybe even help myself economically by making blends so I don't have to run out of these coffees so much. I can have, instead of having 4 items on the menu, I could possibly have 8 or something, right? So we can play with recipes and all kinds of stuff to make blends. The trick to making good blends is on the table, the cupping table. So how do we do that? So for example, I have actually some coffees here, and I actually have a post-blended coffee here too. So here's how you do it. You bring out all your coffees to cup, and then as you're trying to figure out what kind of blends you want to do, like say this is a different coffee, right? So we go, I wonder how this coffee and this coffee would taste, because I feel like they would complement each other. Or let's just see, like YOLO, let's go for it. So I would take 1 scoop from each. Be sure to rinse in between. Okay, boom, right there. You have a 50-50 blend of these 2 coffees, and you get to try it here, right? So then you would just taste this, and whatever, you would just try this like 50-50 ratio. And you go, is that better or worse than them alone, right? If it's better, then you've got something. If it's worse, it's not worth it, okay? So we have that. Now, what if it's not a 50-50 blend? What if it's a different measure? Okay, well, pretty simple. Rinse. Maybe you're like, this one, has a highlight in its flavor profile that like it pops. And this one has a really nice body, but I feel like one is not allowing one to shine, or something like that, right? So let's try 2 of these. 2, rinse, and 1 of these. Now what does it taste like, right? Okay, cool. So then you decide, is it better or worse than the other ratio, right? And of course, you'd be writing all this stuff down, blend 1, blend 2. And then this is post-roasted blended, right? What if you did a pre-roast? So post-roasting, which means you roast 1 single origin, you roast another single origin, and after you've roasted it, now you blend it, right, as whole bean roasted coffee. Now, is there a possibility to save time and money and effort and labor and all this stuff to do a pre-roast blend? Okay, so then after this all tastes good, now you go check. Is it good enough to be a pre-roast blend? And then you would blend the raw coffee, the green coffee together, and go and roast it. Whatever that ratio was too, you got to remember that. So if the 2-to-1 was better than the 1-to-1, right, then that's what you would test. Now, say it's like 3 coffees, say it's 5 coffees, whatever. You really don't want to go over 5. That's the rule. I know Klatch does 5 in one of their espresso blends, and I think that's because they want to offer this all year round, if I remember correctly. So they have like say 1 coffee's out of rotation, or it's out of harvest, or something happened to it, right? If they replace it with something, it's not that big of a deal, because you as the consumer probably won't be able to tell. And it's still, this espresso still tastes like their espresso that they're trying to offer all year round. So that's the benefit of having more than 1 coffee in a blend. For the most part, the most that I do is 3, because I just don't get that crazy. That would be a lot of work for me. That's more of an economical quality control kind of thing. So you can really tailor your blend process, from what I've observed at a professional level, to like my own little operation here, you can really tailor it to what works for you in terms of blending, okay? And what makes sense for you. But the only way you're going to know if it makes sense is if you take good notes and you're looking at the data and you're actually here on the cupping table and you're getting feedback, and there's a continuous loop of information that's being updated all the time that you're maintaining as the person who is designing all of these blends. Now, could you outsource it? You could, but I think that's sort of a lazy way to go about it. If you're the owner of this company in India, I think it's still really prudent for you to be in the know about it. So maybe you have a cupping manager or something like that who communicates to your roasting manager or your head roaster, and they make that happen for you and they communicate back and forth. I think you should still be there at the cupping table tasting and making sure everything tastes good. And then there's all that underlying agreement that you understand what tastes good too, right? And how do you do that? Cupping. Cup, 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 cup. Going out and cupping and understanding what are the differences. So you can tell, hey, like this is better than this. And being able to discern why something is better than the other is actually a skill that you have to develop. It sounds rudimentary, it sounds obvious, and sometimes it is obvious if it's this is better than that, but then sometimes you have some real like neck and neckers, you know, right next to each other. So training your palate to recognize that when it's there versus not means that you're going to just have a higher quality product, which I think in turn will affect all the other chains in the process of running a business with coffee. Okay? All right. So that's your question answered. I don't consult, not at this point, okay? I don't think I'm qualified to do anything like that. But I do like to share what I'm doing here and just give my little 2 cents in my opinion for you guys. It's not law. I have to now like say this in disclaimer now, just because people take everything that I say, can take what I say too seriously. Okay? I don't take myself seriously. I just try to do my best and have a good time. All right? So we'll see you in tomorrow's video. I have very good news on things that I want to share on the facility side of things. We're getting closer and closer to finding a spot, I think, and I want to share with you how we're going about that, because it looks like some of you have gone through that struggle, which I'm so kind of validated and happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that you also struggled. Okay, cool. See you tomorrow. Bye.